Welcome to Tiny Rails, the fun little game with a train. I'm currently taking part in the Africa quests of this game, and last time around I was sent to Cairo in Egypt in a race with a guy named Cyril and his train, and he apparently cheated somehow, possibly with a teleportation device. I'm now heading up to Prague in Czechoslovakia, I believe, or the Czech Republic as it is these days, to pick up some other cargo I need to help me beat Cyril in a future race. There's a whole backstory to all the characters in here, and you'd have to see all the other episodes and where I did bits of the story to understand it all. But that is where I currently stands, and potentially the nice thing about being in Prague is I may get to pick up some candle resources, because I need about 1,300 of those for Copenhagen and Barcelona. But, oh yes, I'm here to pick up some water coolant apparently. Well, let's pick up that. Any candles? Yep, there's some candles. Good-o. Valerie, I can't believe we lost to Cyril. He cheated, Valerie, get over it. See? Even Sophia agrees with me. He must have cheated somehow. He might have some new technology or have a shortcut we haven't built yet. Whatever he has, we need to do better. With this water coolant, we should be able to push the engine even harder. Okay, good to know. So that completes that part of the quest. Let me find the right app. So now I need to go to buy some iron plates in Zurich. Buy iron plate cargo from Zurich. Zurich is not that far away. That's kind of nice, actually. Makes a nice change to actually have a short journey between one quest destination and the next. So I'll head off to Zurich via Luxembourg City, Luxembourg. And we'll see how much money is in my caboose. Another 40,000. So I'm 300,000 short of where I want to be for cash for the moment. I need 2 million to upgrade my Las Vegas station, which is my next goal. Then I need hundreds more millions to upgrade all the other stations that are around the world, which I haven't upgraded yet. But for the moment I'm just concentrating on getting 2 million so I can upgrade Las Vegas. So whilst I'm doing this short journey to Zurich, well, shortish journey, let me think what I can ramble on about today. Oh, if you haven't ever heard of the author Elliot Kay and the series of books with a character named Tanner Malone. I think it starts with Poor Man's Fight, then there's one called Rich Man's War, and there's 2 or 3 others. They are well worth reading. Elliot Kay writes a very good book. If you have a Kindle or read books from Amazon via Kindle published or self-published books, check out Elliot Kay, and Poor Man's Fight being the first one in that series. He has written others on sort of angels, demons, supernatural stuff, but that doesn't tend to bother me, that type of book. But the Tanner Malone ones, it's a sci-fi, but it's very much a character-driven and character development book, which makes it far more interesting. So they're well worth reading. I don't think there's anything in Luxembourg I want. Nope. Yeah, this is part of Europe where it doesn't have any of the stuff I want. And we go to Vaduz. Let me check. Yep, a bit of a trek down there, then just a very short hop across to Zurich. Probably a good time to clean and repair my train. I'm still waiting for book 12 of the Fayroll series to get published in English, written by Andrei Vasiliev, who may or may not have written the Russian version yet, but if so, it hasn't been translated and published in English. which I really would like to happen because I really enjoyed that series. It's, what's the term they use? Lit RPG, but it's from a different perspective rather than somebody being this super powerful, gamer who's done everything in games before. It's about a journalist who goes into the game to write a series of articles, and it kind of expands from there into a whole variety of different plots. Some of which are good, some of which, meh. But overall, the series is very good. I would just like it to continue. That is, of course, the problem with a series of books, is if you start out, you find the first book in a series and start reading, you normally catch up to the end of the series before the author releases the next one. And depending on the speed of the author, that can be rather frustrating. Let's go straight on to the next destination, which is Zurich, which is my destination. So whether it be Frederick Forsyth novels, which I think are truly brilliant because the amount of research he does. The problem with Frederick Forsyth, even when he was most prolific, he didn't write a book more than once every 2 or 3 years, sometimes every 10 years. So there's the iron plates I wanted. Hank, when we get these iron plates installed, the engine will be able to handle all that force. Sophia, the plan is coming together. Oh great, I have a flashback to the A-Team and Hannibal Lecter. Nothing is going to stop our train. Yeah, and Cyril will have to honour his bet with Valerie. He'll need to shave that dastardly moustache of his too. You ever notice how it moves when he talks? It's so creepy. Okay, well, having got that, I will just sell some watermelons, tea and clogs that I picked up along the way, and some sausages and meatballs. Oh, and a lemon. Right. That's everything I want from there. Okay, now I've got to go to Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's a bit of a trek. While I'm here, I will collect the money that I've got outstanding. Okay, get another 5 jobs apparently. That's 2, that's 3. That's 4. And that's 5, right. Where am I? Okay. I'll just head to my depot so I can drop the stuff that's in my train off there. The problem with going to Halifax is the fastest way to get there is to go via the transatlantic tunnel, which is 3,000 plus miles of just an underwater tunnel. So, not the most thrilling journey in the world. I don't need anything from these stations. It's kind of nice to have a short journey between 2 stations, or shortish journey between 2 stations on a subsequent parts of a quest. Makes a rare change, that. I'm going through Paris, then on to Nantes, and then into my depot, then back out again. And I will probably end it once I've started down the transatlantic tunnel. Because like I say, it's not the most interesting thing to watch. What else was I talking? Oh, I was talking Frederick Forsyth books. Generally, the trouble with when you find a good book to read is you tend to want to read other books by that author, and you find there is a limited amount of novels or books available by any given author. Then you tend to go off onto other authors that are recommended in the same genre, and you find that the one you picked is either the best out of the lot, or you then find another author you like and then you run out of his books, and so on and so forth. It's a never-ending series of books, but some of which are good, some of which are bad, and it does tend to be a lot of hit and miss along the way. It's like the John Sandford novels, the Prey series and his now other series. I found the first one of those in a second-hand bookshop, and no, actually I found them in an actual bookshop, a full-price bookshop. I was going on a business trip somewhere, and I needed something to read, so I picked up 2 or 3 of them because I thought, okay, the premise sounds interesting, and what the heck, they're right in front of me. Then, of course, I kept reading them, and now I've reached the end of the series, and I have to wait 6 months. It's about every 6 months he publishes a new book. Next one's coming out in April, I believe, towards the end of April this year, which I'll read it in a day or two, and then I'll be waiting another 6 months for the next book he writes, because I've caught up with everything he's written. I need to find decent authors to read, which is becoming harder and harder. The nice thing about the joys of Amazon Kindle is a lot of the books you get there are very cheap, so you can always try an author for less than $1 frequently, or frequently the first book they write is given away free just to get you interested, and you don't waste that much money if you try 10 authors and you find you only like one of them. So that is the nice thing about Amazon. Of course, it does mean you tend to read a lot of crap, or parts of a lot of crap. You tend to be far less selective because it's easy, and it does still lead you on to reading a lot of stuff you wouldn't have touched if you had to go out and physically buy the book. Yeah, that's emptied my train out. Suppose I should see if I'm getting any closer. How much money we got in there? 10,000? Yeah, it's still going to take me a little while to get to my target of 2 million plus. And this wonderful carriage is now just over halfway through its experience to get to upgraded to its maximum level. Of course, I'm now going on a journey back to North America, where I've completed all the cargo requirements for all the stations. If it sent me to the other part of the world, I might have taken a detour to drop off some of the cargo in my depot to one of the few remaining stations that needs it. About a dozen or so that need it. And I've got to make a trip to South America at some point, because that's the only place I found sweet potatoes and cricket bats that I still have outstanding requirements for those, and some other thing as well, some vegetable or fruit that's only down there that I need a few of. But of course the only way into South America is via a port, which means it requires me to go somewhere near a port to make that journey. What else is going on in the world that I haven't covered recently? The MLS season has now started, which, whilst the MLS is better than it used to be, talent and skill-wise, I'd still rather watch the lower leagues of English football. The skill level is if not the equivalent, is still better than the MLS. And to be honest, the atmosphere in the MLS games is hardly great. And when you've grown up around English football and the chants and the atmosphere of English football, it seems a bit bland. That, and I don't know most of the names of the players in the MLS. So it's not a big deal. I hope, what's his name, Thierry Henry does well as the coach of, I think it's Montreal or some Canadian MLS side, because I always like Thierry Henry, although the Irish don't, because of one wonderful incident that kept them out of a World Cup or European Championship, I forget which. But he was a very, very talented footballer. Beckham's Inter Miami. Yeah, that's a bad name. I don't like the name Inter Miami for a club, because I just immediately think of Inter Milan as soon as I say Inter. If you say Inter in football, people just stop with that one word. People always believe it's going to be Inter Milan you're talking about. So Inter Miami seems to be a bit of a rip-off of that name. So I wish they'd chosen a better name, or a different name. Let's see. In the world of sports, Alex Ovechkin is the 8th player to reach 700 goals in hockey, or the NHL. I know this because people I work with are huge hockey fans, and they tell me these things as though I'm interested, and I'm really not. But I humour them in the same way they humour me when I start talking about the Premier League. Yeah, I can't think of what else is going on. There is a channel on YouTube, or there's a couple of them, which every week puts out the latest film trailers, which I tend to keep up and watch that, because it's nice to know what films are coming up, and there's frequently films you haven't heard of you look at and think, that might be quite a good film. There's another one that does TV series as well, because of Hulu and... Let me set my destination. I'll set that as my destination. Because of Hulu, Amazon TV, Apple TV, and all the other streaming services, Netflix, etc. There are TV series where if you don't subscribe to those particular channels, you wouldn't hear about, because they're not advertised on normal TV or in various places. So that's worth checking out. I forget the name of the channel. If I run into it before an episode, I will try and note them down so I can mention them. But just look up sort of weekly TV or weekly film trailers, and I'm pretty sure you'll find it very easily. They are well worth watching, just purely to keep yourself informed about what's coming up. And that's pretty much everything I can really go on about during this episode. As I say, this trade is now going to go through an underwater tunnel for quite some time. Yes, it's going to complete a load of mileage jobs, because this tunnel is about 3,000 miles long, which will help with my cash flow. But that's about it. So, as always, I hope you enjoyed to one degree or another, and hopefully I'll see you down the track for more tiny rails in the near future. Cheerio!